There, now it's charging. There we go. Okay, okay. You can go now. Thanks for that, Robert. He promised me he wasn't going to steal my thunder, but it's a little late for that now, I think. Hello, everybody. Oh, that was so nice. Everybody's given me such a warm welcome since I came back to Brazil. My name is Angelina Fabbro. I think if you read the brochure, you probably already know that. And you can follow me on Twitter at Angelina Magnum. I haven't put the code up for the demo that I'm going to do today yet. So if you do follow along and you find that you would like to look at the code and what I did here today, follow me there, and I will push it to GitHub when I actually have some internet access, because the internet today has been a little bit not good. But yeah, so I'm here to talk to you today about FirefoxOS, much like Robert is. I live in Vancouver, Canada. It's a very sunny place. Actually, I feel right at home being here right now, because I looked outside and it's very rainy, which is pretty much, this is what Vancouver is like 8 months of the year. And so I work at Mozilla as a technical evangelist, which I think a lot of people misunderstand what we do as evangelists, actually. Sometimes people talk to me about my job, and they say, oh, well, I guess you just travel and you do speaking. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I do that. I'm here and I'm speaking. But that's only a very small portion of my job, actually. I work with developers like you, and I look at your code, and I help you get your apps into the marketplace, and I help you with things that you have problems with your apps. And I spend time writing helpful code. Like right now, I'm working on taking a Node.js module for handling in-app payments, and I'm actually porting it to Ruby. I was hoping to get there first and do the Node.js module, but someone already else wrote it. So I thought that the best thing to do would be to port it to other languages so that other people don't have to do that boilerplate work. And before I worked at Mozilla, I worked at several companies around Vancouver. One of them was a startup called Steam Clock Software. And for about 2 or 3 years, I did a combination of JavaScript apps and PhoneGap apps and mobile web apps with HTML5 technologies. And I also did apps with Objective-C. So I wrote native apps for the iPhone and the iPad. So I have many years of background in mobile web experience, and so I was really excited when I got to have this position at Mozilla, because it means that I get to work on my 2 favorite things at the same time, and that's progressive open web technology, and also in the context of mobile apps. So, as I mentioned, I help make wonderful things for FirefoxOS, and I work with you guys, the developers, to do that. So I also wanted to mention that if at any point today you are confused about something, you should actually come talk to me, because I'm very friendly and I'm very easy to talk to, or at least I think so. And I would love to help you solve your problems, not just because it's my job, but because I get a really great sense of satisfaction out of helping people with their projects in that sense. So if you ever have a problem, or you're stuck, or you have an idea for something on FirefoxOS, you can email me personally. Like personally, my email at Mozilla is angelina@mozilla.com, and I will try and get back to you and help you out. And even if I don't know the answer to your question, I most certainly know the right person to forward you to, so that you can get some help from that. So the last time I was in Brazil was a few months ago, and I was in Fortaleza for JSConf Brazil, which was really fantastic. There were some great talks there. And I told everybody there that I had a secret for them. And then I stopped on this slide for like 5 seconds, and people were like, okay, what's the secret? And the secret is that all of you are already FirefoxOS developers. I think that with Robert's talk, it was probably very clear that you're basically building in Gaia these web applications using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and that's really all it is. But sometimes when I tell people this, when I tell them you are already a FirefoxOS developer, that you are a web developer, and you already have the skills to do these mobile applications, some people are still kind of nervous. They think that maybe there's some catch, or maybe there's some extra secret bit of information. I know for me, when I had done Objective-C for many years and iOS development, before I worked at Mozilla, I went to one of the FirefoxOS app days. So this is even before the Geeks phones had come out. They had the tools, the simulator, and they were encouraging people to build apps for FirefoxOS. And somebody at the Vancouver office encouraged me to come and told me about like certain boilerplate bits of code that I could use to get going. And I was very skeptical too, because for iOS, if you want to build an app and you want to push it to devices, if you want to push it to any devices for testing other than your own personal device, you need to go to the iOS provisioning portal. You need to get the provisioning profile set up. And oh, it's a terrible user experience. Some of my friends that still do iOS tell me that the experience has gotten better, but I don't believe them. And if you, for some reason you're working in Xcode, sometimes Xcode would forget about your provisioning profiles, and it was just this confusing mess. And so I always had this bad experience of pushing to a device or making an app and trying to get it on a device. It always seemed like there was a barrier there for me. But one of the things I really liked about FirefoxOS was, I said to my friend at the time, I said, you know, this is the fastest that I've been able to write something in code and get it on a device or get it in the simulator running and working. And so what we're going to do today is we're actually going to build an app right now for FirefoxOS, and we're going to run it in the simulator, and I'm going to show you that actually all this is web development. And as Robert said, the one special piece is that we have a manifest file, just some JSON with some meta information about your app that will tell the simulator how to treat it. So the technology that we're going to use today, we're going to have a very small server written with Node.js using 2 modules only, Socket.io for WebSockets and one called nTwitter that will take care of talking to Twitter and fetching information for us. And we're going to, on the client side, just be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, no framework. No client-side framework, anyway. And the interesting thing about building these apps is sometimes people ask me questions like, oh, Angelina, can I use Angular? Can I use Twitter Bootstrap? And the answer is yes, actually. Last week, I was in Australia, and there was an event there called Camp.js. So a bunch of developers, mostly JavaScript and some Ruby, we went up onto a mountain. And you can guess that the internet was bad for that. It was worse than this, I promise you. And we went onto a mountain, and the idea was that we all go up there and we hack, we code for a weekend. And people there were very excited for FirefoxOS. And so I had the same questions. You know, oh, can I build an app with Angular? And I said, I said yes. And they said, oh, can I build an app with Twitter Bootstrap? What about Ember? And I say yes to all of these. And then, you know, I decided after a while that I would stop saying yes, but I would say, I bet you can. You know? And so when I say to them, yeah, I don't know, do you think you can prove it? You know, if you just put it like that a little bit, sometimes people get very competitive. And so at the end of the weekend, we had one written in Angular, and we had one done with Twitter Bootstrap. And it was great, because I wanted people to see for themselves that you don't need to, there is no specific framework. In the future, Mozilla may have some recommendations. We may have ideas for someone who is maybe starting out with web development on what some best practices could be for building their app. I think this is particularly important when it comes to user experience, almost more than what the user can't see. But we may have some recommendations. But those recommendations are only recommendations. They are not your requirements. We want you to be free to use whatever technologies that you know how to use best to build for the open web. And so today's example doesn't use a framework on the client side, but you could, for example, use one like Angular or something like that. And then we'll be using a little bit of boilerplate CSS. So there is a website called buildingfirefoxos.com, and I will actually show it to you in just a moment. And that website has some CSS and design patterns and all the graphics that you might want to give your app the native look and feel of FirefoxOS. To be clear, your app can look however you like. You can make your own graphics and have it look entirely custom, but sometimes people like to make apps that look like they belong in the operating system so that it gives the user a homogeneous experience. It gives the user a very smooth experience when they feel like everything is integrated with a similar look and feel. So we'll be using some CSS from buildingfirefoxos.com today. And then the tools, the Firefox OS simulator, which we're going to jump right into, and also the Firefox developer tools. So if I just pop right over here, This here is the Firefox OS simulator. I just want to make sure that you guys can see that okay. Right now it's stopped, as it says with this lever over here. And on the dashboard, if we had more than one app here, we would have a list of all of our applications, and it would tell us important information like, here's the location of the manifest that has information about the app. The validation result, that's when the simulator will check your app manifest to make sure it validates okay. It will tell you things like if you're missing icons for your app, if you're missing important information that would mean that you get rejected from the App Store, say if you wanted to put your app in the marketplace. And then over on the right here we have some tools like if you are doing in-app payments, you can have various contexts set for whether you're dealing with a valid, invalid, or refunded receipt. We're not going to touch in-app payments today, but those tools are there. And then these buttons allow you to connect the web console, so the developer tools, directly to an app, which allows you to do things like live editing of the CSS of your app. And then the refresh button is the one I probably use the most. That's when you've got some changes to your code, you're already running the app in the simulator, and then you want to just, well, refresh it. And then these buttons up here are actually pretty important. If I click on Add Directory, it will actually bring up a picker for me, and I can select a manifest that way. And when I select a manifest, the simulator will know to grab all the files bundled with it. But if I actually type in a URL up here, I can add a URL remotely. In fact, by looking at this URL right here for the Firefox OS boilerplate app, let me just copy it. Let's actually remove it. Let's actually remove it there and then refresh that. Okay, so now it says there's no apps installed. If I were just to install an app, Robert was talking about his boilerplate app, and that is actually a great app to check out because it does have examples of pretty much lots of the web APIs and the web activities, and he's done it in a very modular and clean fashion so that if you're just getting started, you can actually literally just take a chunk out and isolate it and work with it. So if we pop the manifest URL in here, tells us that the URL is invalid. Probably it's missing the, it's probably got a space at the front. There we go. And if we add that manifest, you can actually load a manifest file remotely. This is particularly interesting because recently, who here is familiar with JS Fiddle? Some people are familiar with JS Fiddle. If I go to, I need a URL bar. There we are. Hopefully I get internet, otherwise this is going to be a little bit distressing. But what I wanted to mention is that JS Fiddle is a tool that you can use. Here we go, it's just slow. JS Fiddle is a tool that you can use for prototyping web applications, or rather portions of web applications. Often JS Fiddle is used as a tool for debugging code. Someone will have their code in here, they'll send someone else the link, and then you can actually debug it. But the interesting thing about the JS Fiddle is actually that if you have a JS Fiddle and you put /webapp.manifest on the end, there's an Easter egg there where you can actually prototype Firefox OS applications in JS Fiddle, and then you can load them in the simulator. And actually, we have a blog post on the Mozilla Hacks blog about that if you're interested. So if you're still a little unsure about jumping in with the development, you can play around in JS Fiddle, access some of the web APIs and the web activities, and then you can actually send around the link, and people can install your app that you made with JS Fiddle. And so after we've popped that in there, we've actually loaded up the app, but I think that it's on another window here. Yeah, I should come back from full screen mode. There we go. So there we are. And so, I mean, this is Robert's boilerplate app. I just wanted to show you what the simulator is like running. Can't view the image. Pick anything. Let's pick a wallpaper. Let's pick that one. And that's that. And go back to the home screen. It's basically exactly what you would see with the phone. So we want to give you a very true experience to exactly what you would experience on the device. I mean, there are some things that you can't debug, like the vibration API. Like my MacBook Air does not vibrate when I call that function. So it'd be kind of neat if it did, but no dice. So I have this empty HTML file here. And I think what we're going to build today is a tweet stream app. So I mentioned Socket.io, and I mentioned a Twitter module that we'll be using for the server-side code. The server-side code is actually very small, and it's already written because today I want to focus on the client side in the building of the FirefoxOS app. And actually, my goal today is that you guys are kind of bored, which sounds kind of weird for a talk like this, but I actually wanted to pick a very simple example because I wanted you to see exactly how easy it is to do this. I thought to myself after seeing lots of very high-level talks today that, you know what, it's going to be the end of the day, everybody's going to be really tired, and probably they're going to see Robert's talk and be kind of excited about FirefoxOS. Why don't I pick a really simple example so that people understand that this is very simple to work with? I want you to understand that this is just web development and that you can do it. So, I mean, what is the first thing that most people usually do when they start with a new technology, right? I mean, what is the first thing that we usually run? Isn't it something like this? Yeah, it is something like that. Okay, well, let's start with Hello World, and then we can go from there. So right now we have an index file, and I'm wondering, I think it's probably a little bit small, but in the sidebar here you can see I've got my index at the root of a directory called client. And inside client, I've got a few things that are helpers. I've got a folder that has some fonts in it. Fonts, of course, are optional. These are ones that, these fonts here are the ones that actually ship with FirefoxOS, and they're the open fonts that we use. So I've just got those in there to keep things simple for myself. I've already got some icons that are just actually from Robert's boilerplate app. And so we've got some icons there. In the JavaScript, we have an empty index.js file. And we have this install file, which looks scary, but I'll get to that in a moment. And then we've got socket.io.js, which is third party. I did not write socket.io. It'd be cool if I did, because it's really awesome. And then inside style, we have headers.css, and this bit of code here actually came from the buildingfirefoxos.com. And inside headers, we've just got some images and icons and things like that that came with the headers.css. And then we've actually got app.css. See if I can make this a bit smaller. There we go. You guys can still see that okay? Okay, I was just worried because I saw code earlier and I was sitting at the back and I couldn't see it. And I was like, okay, if there's one thing I'm going to do right today, it's going to be big code. And so what I've got in here so far is just declaring the different font faces that I might want to use. They're just different weights of the same font. And then here I've just set up the HTML body to have the font size specified. The font color is white for that, etc. So the one thing that we're missing so far out of all this is we have an index.html. We've got like a bunch of assets ready for us to use. Is we're missing a web app manifest. And so let's actually write out a web app manifest. So this is all just JSON, right? So Robert was talking about a few things we need, like we need a version number. And we'll say that this is version 001 because, well, I mean, this is just a prototype, right? And what should we call our app? We'll call our app my hashtag monitor. Because what we're going to do today is we're actually going to pull the Twitter API for some hashtags like Brazil.js or JavaScript. And then as those come in, we're going to have push notifications sent to the user on the client. And then the other thing that we want to specify is the launch path of our app. And that here is just going to be index.html. And sometimes we put a description. We'll just put that it's a demo app for now. And let's see here. Usually we have all the icons, but I'm gonna skip the icons for now. If you skip the icons, you'll get a warning in the simulator. I promise you the app will run, but we're gonna skip that. Let's see here. We probably want installs allowed from. Whoops. There we go. Hey there. And let's see. This is an important one. Robert was talking about permissions. And the one permission that we really need to care about today is desktop notification. Okay, and that actually should be all we need to get going. I don't see anything that looks like a huge syntax error. If you guys do see something that's a huge syntax error, you can totally let me know. So if we save that, we're going to want to save that in the root of our directory here. And we're going to want to save that as manifest.webapp. All right, there we go. So let's go back to the simulator. Let's boot up our app. Client manifest.webapp. There we go. Hey, look at that. I know, it's not very exciting yet. Okay, so, but I mean, it works, right? I mean, all we did to a web page was add a manifest, and that means that we are magically a web app. It's actually that simple. So the next thing that we want to do is probably we want to add something to index.html to make this into a more interesting website. So let's go back over there. So probably we don't care about this too much. Let's put in this section. It's a region, and let's put in a header. Oops, that's not what I wanted. So let's create a toolbar at the top there. And we're going to give it a title, my hashtag feed. So if we go back to the simulator, oh, actually, if we do that, we're going to get a header at the top. But what we want to include at this point is we want to include some styles. And let's see here. We want style. Just going to make sure that's in the right spot. Style, headers.css. Yeah, that should be what we want. So now when we go back, we should actually have nope, that didn't work. What's that? Oh, yeah. What's that? Oh my God, you're right. Sorry, yeah. So, spoiler, I just came from Australia. And I went to bed last night at about 9 p.m. So I woke up this morning at 4:30 a.m. So, yeah. Thanks for your patience. Woohoo! But that doesn't look very good, does it? Looks a little big, looks a little awkward. So we're going to need some CSS added in there for us to make that look good. All right, so let's go over into style. Let's go into app.css, and what do we want to add in here? And it looks like my fonts aren't loading. Fonts. Yeah, they're all in the right spot. Someone said what? Extra R. Yeah, rems are actually a unit, but all right. All right. So part of the problem is that we're actually missing there we go. All right, well, we've got the title off to the right there. The header is actually expecting a button to be there, but we're gonna roll on with that. Let's actually go over here. So in this directory, I have a simple Node app, actually. Let's go back over to Sublime Text, and let's actually take a look at a little bit of the code that's going on in there. So I have a simple app that's requiring two things, a Socket.io server and a little file, a little module called Twitter feed. The Socket.io server is actually very simple. We're basically spooling up and listening on port 8080. And then whenever we have new content that's emit, then we push that down to the client. And so those are my Twitter credentials. I don't want to give you that. Inside twitterfeed.js, we've required the endTwitter module, and we've used that to actually create this stream. And right now we're going to track the Brazil.js tag. What is another tag that we should track? Probably JavaScript, maybe? You guys are going to have to help me out with this with tweeting in a second if you've got internet, because I'm going to need some evidence that this works. But what's another one that we like? A CSS. Let's see here, FirefoxOS, how about Mozilla? Okay, why not? And so now whenever we get data from Twitter, it will be pushed down to the client. We're not going to spend too much time on the server, like I said, just because this is mostly the focus on the client-side stuff today. But if anybody here is new to Node.js, I don't imagine too many of you are, because I saw some pretty high-level talks here earlier, but it's very, very simple. So let's actually get that running. Okay. There we go. Okay, so in order to make this work, we're going to need a little bit more information in our body here. So that's going to be a spot where our tweets go when they actually come in. And we're also going to add some scripts at the bottom there. I'm actually just going to go copy and paste those from the finished demo so that we're not here too long. I don't imagine that me typing forever is going to be that exciting for you, and I think that we all want dinner. So let's actually include that. So at the very bottom here, I've included Socket.io. I've also included install.js. Install.js is a very simple file that if I zoom out here, this is actually taken from the FirefoxOS boilerplate app. This just checks if the app is installed, and if the app isn't installed, we'll actually show like a sort of plus button in the top right. That way, if you visit the app or a web page of this app as a hosted app, you can press that button and install it to the device. So for example, if I hosted this app on my own web server and people wanted to visit it and look at this tweet stream app that I had and then install it on their own device, they would be able to do that. All right, so we've got Socket.io, we've got install.js, which just takes care of a little bit of boilerplate stuff for making the app a proper hosted app. And then we've got index.js, which actually doesn't have anything in it right now. So let's actually take care of that. Okay, so just setting up some variables here. The important one to note right now is the one I'm doing for notifications. And notification, I'm going to initialize to navigator.mosNotification. All right, so when we get new content, what we want to do is create a new notification to push to the user. What's that? Oh, you're right. All right, so new notification. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating the text that will have the person's username in it, that will actually be pushed down, and the user will see at the top of their screen when a new tweet actually comes in. And so after we've set up that, we want to actually set up a click handler so that when the new notification comes in, that we can actually tap on it and actually see it in the app. So and let's see, we want to append a tweet, so let's put a div in there, give it the class of tweet. What's that? Yes, you're right, they do need a hash. You guys are the best. What? You guys are hilarious. This is the most fun I've had in a while. This is great. Anyway, where are we here? So, all right, this is taking way too long. All right, let's go over here. I originally planned that I was going to type this all out, but this is just going to take too long, I think. I think this is not as exciting. So let's actually go take a look at my finished demo, actually, rather than having me type out everything for you. Maybe this was a bad idea in retrospect. So anyway, so if I open up this fantastic demo that I had pre-prepared for you guys, and we pop over into index.html, you can see I've included a couple things for headers and toolbars. Actually, we don't even need these ones anymore. We've got the same thing that you saw before. The only difference between this and the thing that we hadn't gotten to in the one that I was writing is that I'd sort of put things, I put some installation instructions so that if the app wasn't installed, you would see those. And then actually the only thing there, of course, is that div that says tweets on it. The manifest is actually still the same, except for this one's got all the icons in it and stuff like that as well. And the style sheet has a little bit more information in it just about styling the tweets as they come in. The JavaScript, however, looks a little bit something like this. And actually, we don't need these anymore. There we go. So we've got socket, notification. Don't need that either. So we create a new notification. And when a notification comes in, it should display at the top of the screen new tweet by whatever the username is, and it should truncate all of the data of the tweet so that we don't have a really, really long or large notification, and then also the user image. And then when that notification is actually clicked on and it comes in at the top of the screen, we should get that information appended into the inner HTML of that tweets div. And I've got a little bit of code down here that says that if we're looking at the app by using the visibility API, so by checking if the document is hidden, whether or not the user can actually see what we're looking at, if we're actually looking at the app, then it will automatically append it. We don't actually have to click on the notification for that to happen. So let's see here. So let's actually remove this one here. And let's go over here and run the server on the right one. All right. Oh, hey. Hey. Someone tweet something to Brazil.js. Marcelo Schmidt, Brazil.js, awesome talks today. FirefoxOS, JavaScript. You picked all the hashtags. So it's a little bit small for you guys to see, and I apologize, but I don't think that I can actually zoom in on the simulator like I can with the zoom on Firefox itself. But actually, there are tiny tweets coming in. Brazil.js, awesome talks today. And then Marcelo there put in like all the hashtags, which is great. And send a kiss, hey. That one's in Portuguese. Someone said that they're naked. You should probably not be naked. But yeah, so thank you for your patience with me coding up here. I always get really nervous when I'm like live coding in front of people, and then I have this really bad habit, as you can see. I'll like do a live code demo, but I'll just make it too long. I'll think to myself, oh yeah, you know, I can get through this in about 30 minutes, and it's like people are sitting here, and I can hear you guys talking, and I'm like, okay, no, this is going to take too long. But in any case, I wanted to do this really simple demo for you guys, or at least show you something that I made last night in my hotel room while I was preparing for this, thinking like, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow for this thing? And show you that in like, you know, a couple hours or even like 30 to 45 minutes of time, you can actually do something pretty simple like this and have an app going in the simulator. There are now way too many of these. And notifications in FirefoxOS, they collect in the top of this, this dock right here, very similar to how it works on other platforms. You can see all of the tweets. And so that's that. There is no persistence to this app. If we close the app and we get rid of it, the tweets will be gone. I mean, that's if we take the app and we cancel it, like sort of we remove it from memory. But if we actually just do this, and we go back to the desktop or sort of like the home screen of FirefoxOS, the tweets will actually still keep coming in like you would see a traditional push notification. So with that being said, that is our really, really simple FirefoxOS app. And I'm wondering if you guys have any questions. Any questions? I actually can't see the audience, so if there is a question, like someone else needs to help me out, because you guys, it's very bright, so. Yes. Oh, debugging. Oh, like what kind of things are there in the tools, etc. Right, right. So right now, the current state of things with the tools is that we have limited debugging. Like, it would be really nice if I could go into the simulator and like, let's go back into the app here. There's a bunch of tweets. I'd like to be able to right-click and inspect like you would in, say, a web inspector or the Firefox tools. That we don't have yet. However, we do have, if we go into the simulator dashboard and you click this connect button, this connect button will connect this console at the very bottom to your app. So you will get like console logs and output, and JavaScript errors will JavaScript errors will show up there, along with a lot of feedback, apparently. And you can see there's various requests for these Twitter profile images as they come in, so you can see all of that happening live. Also, the style editor, however, is the one thing that we've made a little bit more of an advance with in the recent Firefox simulator, the version 4 update, and that's that we can actually do live style editing. So if I go into app.css here, and I say I want the body background to be, I don't know, what's a good color? FF0? Doesn't everybody like FF0? There we go. So you can actually see that there's live CSS editing. So you can get various bits of debug feedback. You can get console logs. You can see network requests and things like that. I don't know if we can breakpoint on anything yet. I think that we can. So theoretically, I've got a breakpoint there. So if someone sends in another tweet, then I should get a breakpoint there. There we go. Yep. So we've got breakpoints. But the tools are actually getting better and better. And from talking to the tools team, eventually this FirefoxOS simulator is actually going to be more like a general app dashboard. Because although we're encouraging people to build with FirefoxOS in the simulator, we recognize that people are not just going to be building for FirefoxOS. We want people to be building for the web platform in general. So right now, you can actually build an app for the Firefox Marketplace that works in Firefox Desktop. And we'd like to be able to support that well here. We'd like to be able to support other devices. And we'd like to be able to just have it be sort of like a home for all of your app development. So the developer tools are slowly integrating more and more of this existing developer tool console into the simulator, and they're sort of going like this very slowly. Other questions? Hard to see. Okay, there's one there. Yes? I swear that's not me. Just to be safe. Sorry, say your question again.
Which resources are available to the developers working with Firefox apps for Firefox OS? Is there an IRC channel for this, and which websites do you have?
Yes, definitely. So Robert was talking about, like, I was actually going to show you show this thing with the the web APIs, but Robert beat me to it. So we've got. Right now at Mozilla, we're working very hard to actually take things from like MDN, the wiki, and all of the places that we have developer information and put it in one spot. Because we've realized over the last while that we have a lot of really good resources like the Hacks blog, the Mozilla Developer Network, we have the Marketplace, which has information about like a lot of the in-app payment stuff. And I think it makes sense at this point that we try and put it all together in one spot. And actually, that's something that like my team is actually, we're talking with everybody else in Mozilla about the best way to do that. So the best place to go for information on Firefox OS and development is probably going to be probably the Marketplace is a good place to start, just because the Marketplace has really good information about, here we go, hold on. The section here for develop apps takes you to this area here that is all about developing for, I mean, it says Marketplace, but it says like Developer Hub in tiny text at the bottom. Really, this is the Developer Hub for Firefox OS apps. And you're actually asking about IRC channels. That was going to be the next thing I say. irc.mozilla.org, we have several channels there. There's one called Gaia, where a lot of the Gaia developers hang out. And that one is mostly like the developers that are from Mozilla working on the core apps, but they're helpful with questions. There's the Geeks Phone channel if you happen to have a developer device and you're having problems with that. There's the Open Web Apps channel. Actually, the Open Web Apps channel is probably the most useful one because that is basically anything to do with web APIs and anybody can be there. So Open Web Apps is also good. I'm trying to think. I feel like I should like log on to IRC and see which ones I hang out in. And also, if you wanted to talk to anybody on my team, we're always in DevRel since we interact with you. We are developer relations and all that. But I think for API questions, probably Open Web Apps is the best one.
Awesome, thanks.
Hi, Angelina. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation. I really appreciate that. I started to work with the FirefoxOS a couple of days ago, and I tried to use the HTML5 form controls, but that didn't work. I want to know, also I tried to use the camera, but I think the simulator is still in development yet. I would like to know if there is some plans in the near future, to a way to use the simulator to use the HTML5 form controls to validate the form, and also choose the camera.
I'm really interested to know, you and I should talk, and I'm really interested to know what about the HTML5 form controls didn't work for you. I think that they should. So if they didn't, then we should talk afterwards, and I will help you figure out why that is. As for the camera and like being able to sort of mock out camera behavior in the simulator, I'm not certain about that. Like in my mind, it would be kind of nice if it would, like, you know, ask for permission and then use your desktop camera if you have one, and then you kind of get the experience of acquiring a photo, and that way you can you know, mock out the behavior of acquiring a user photo properly. As for that one, I'm not sure about the support on that one. But come talk to me about the HTML forms thing, because that I can probably help you with.
All right, for sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Problem. Anybody else? I think that's it. All right, everyone, thanks for having me, and thanks for your patience with my clumsy live coding. I hope that you understand that making an app is actually a lot more simple than I made it look right there. So, and like I said, don't be shy. Come and talk to me, and come and talk to Robert about FirefoxOS, especially if you're going to be coming to the workshop in a couple days. Actually, a spoiler, if you're coming to the workshop in a couple days, I get to talk to you about web components and a project called Brick that Mozilla is working on. And Brick is a web components project that we're trying to create reusable app-like widgets. So they're geared towards devices like a mobile phone, but you can use them in all sorts of applications. So, woo, web components.